Previously on Maplestory the novel, Sacred Tears.
Ultimate light is the outward directed light I spoke of earlier.
What about this ultimate light you were talking about?
How's the progress of your project going?
I am currently considering the Council's recommendation.
Hypocrites, all of them.
And now the continuation of Chapter 4, Part 2b. Dane and Menodora both watched with anticipation as Dr. Long was strapped into the chair behind his biomechanical body, dubbed Humanoid Type A. The partial mind transfer test a few months earlier was a resounding success, after which preparations for the complete mind and life force transference had been started. But in the time leading up to the grand event, parts, equations, and equipment would be found in a state of minor disrepair that delayed it by weeks. Only after increasing security around the Great Circle where the transfer was to take place did the sabotage stop. "Now you're sure you've written the alchemy matrix out correctly? There are no mistakes?" Dr. Long asked, wincing as a blood IV was put into his arm. "Yes, Doctor, everything has been checked," replied a scientist. "What about the dark alchemy circle? There are no smudges? And what about the balancing matrix? There must be no mistakes."
Darling, please. You and those working with you have checked and rechecked everything. You will succeed. Have faith in those around you.
Felicia, Long's wife, urged with a smile in her voice. Keni, his daughter, also walked over to him and grabbed his hand.
"You can do it, Daddy. I know you can."
She smiled, kissing his cheek.
Matthias, I love you always.
Felicia said, kissing his lips one last time before walking into the observation lounge, where Dane and Menodora waited. When the last of the heart monitors were set and the final vial of liquid was injected, the attending scientist patted his arm and nodded. Dr. Long sighed nervously and nodded in return as a large metallic helmet lowered over his head. "Activate Great Circle," Long called. Light hummed to life around him with a blinding blue-white color. A dome shape shimmered to life as the machines in the background spun up. "Increase the output of generators 1 through 4 by 10% over 12 seconds, the lead commented.
Power increase complete. All vitals normal.
"Begin mind connection. 1.86% per second over 40 seconds. Increase all generators to full over the same amount of time on my mark. Ready activation of Dark Circle. Mark."
Mind connection at 20.46 and climbing. Generators at 79% full power and climbing. All vitals normal.
"Prepare defibrillator shock for Humanoid A. 55 joule pulse on my mark. Activate Dark Circle." The light surrounding Dr. Long became darker as purple light surrounded him.
Mind connection at 39.06 and climbing. Generators at 100% and holding. Capacitors at full, ready for pulse.
"Ready pulse."
Mind connection at 50.22%.
"Mark!" A pulse of electricity shot through the biomechanical body, making it jump from the table. At the same time, Dr. Long also tensed his body. "Humanoid A body showing steady pulse. All vitals normal. Dr. Long showing signs of elevated adrenaline, but within tolerances. Increase mind connection to 5.58% over 20 seconds. Mark. Hold generator power. Dump capacitors 1 through 3 on my mark and ready capacitors 4 through 6. Mark. Recharge 1 through 3, dump 4 through 6 on my mark. Mark. Recharge." The pattern would repeat many times over as Dr. Long could be heard grunting within the circle, both bodies wriggling on their respective tables. Dane and Menodora noted the light but tense air around them all, thick with anticipation for its success. As the power within the Great Circle was reaching its zenith, Dane felt a mass of darkness permeating the air. Menodora noticed the change as well, looking around the lounge for anyone that could be producing such a massive amount of intense darkness. But there was no one within the room they could see. Maxis took note of their panic and went to them.
What's wrong?
Menodora leaned close to his ear.
Someone here in this area is giving off a massive amount of darkness, but I can't see where they would be. There is so much of it that I can't tell where it's coming from.
Maxis nodded as he, Adelia, Menodora, and Dane all went searching the area for anyone suspicious.
Take care if you find this person. They are most likely taken by madness,
Dane warned before they split up. As he searched, Dane wondered why he hadn't felt this massive darkness before. Something like this should have at least had an effect on the town as a whole. His only theory was that it had something to do with the reactions taking place within the Great Circle. Menodora was the one to find someone kneeling down just outside the flickers of light shimmering from the great circle, like a reflection of water.
Hello? Is there something I can help you with?
Menodora called. The man turned to her, his eyes filled with rage, and his face stained with tears that had long since run dry.
What are you doing here?
Menodora asked gently, slowly approaching him.
It will be mine. It was stolen from me, and I will make it mine.
He grunted, reaching into his pocket and producing a small notebook. From it, he began copying a matrix onto the ground.
What do you mean? What was taken from you?
Menodora asked, quietly stepping closer when she saw Dane approaching from the other side. Menodora slowly waved her hands, palms down as she approached.
All of it. It will be mine again. I am the only choice. I should be the one, but no, apparently he has it all and I do not. That will soon change once they see him for the monster he really is,
he muttered, still copying down the matrix. When Menodora was close enough, she knelt next to him and placed a hand on his shoulder, noticing that the matrix was poorly copied and would probably cause more harm than whatever he intended.
Why don't you come with me? I can take you somewhere and I'll listen. Let me hear what has scarred you so badly.
The man stopped moving, setting down the chalk he was using. Dane noticed that his hand opposite Menodora was reaching under his coat for something. Whispering a spell, Dane ready to cast it at the man and began to step closer. The man dropped his head slightly, then smiled widely back at Menodora.
I guess I should. But I've come too far to stop now.
He growled, pulling out his hand from behind him. The flash of steel glinted in the dark as the man drew a knife. Dane cast his spell, energy hurling towards Menodora to cover her in a protective light. But the spell missed when the man pulled her down and thrust the dagger into her gut, twisting hard.
No!
Dane screeched. The man looked back, drawing a pistol from his belt and firing. The iron ball ricocheted from the barrier Dane cast before himself as he teleported to Menodora, catching her as she fell to the ground. The man swung his dagger once again, catching Dane in the arm as he tried to defend himself, backing away with Menodora bleeding in his arms. The man clenched his jaw, and he turned back to the matrix, slamming his hand down.
It will all be mine!
He screamed. Energy was drawn to the matrix as a crack appeared in the rock, snaking its way to the great circle. Dane was about to attack when the crack reached the great circle. The stone floor shifted, opening a hole for a mass of energy to rush out, smashing into the man's face in a jet. Within seconds, Dane watched as the rocks the circle was drawn on shifted. More of the contained energy escaped with increasing velocity. The heat made the rocks crack further, reaching into the balancing matrix, destroying it. Once the balance matrix was gone, the dark circle began to overpower the great circle. Dane reached his hand forward, speaking as quickly as he could to cast a powerful shield spell. The heat of the escaping energy washed against his palm, burning away his skin, but he had to remain else it destroyed him and Menodora. The dark circle's size grew until it rubbed against the great circle. The contact disintegrated the great circle's containment dome, releasing all the energy within it in a flash of blinding white light. For miles around, everyone could feel the ground quake as a cloud of dust plumed high into the air. Many more beyond that could hear the low blast over the many dunes of sand.